Hello, myself Sohaib Sajjad. So today I'm making a video presentation for my Networks and Systems Administration CA1. So in this assignment we had to deploy a server which would run an application inside a Dockerized container on a cloud infrastructure. So for this I have used two automation tools. For CI/CD I have used GitHub Action, and for infrastructure provision I have used AWS CloudFormation. So here you can see on my screen I have my CI/CD architecture diagram. So I'll go on and explain you this diagram. When I push my code onto GitHub repository, my GitHub Actions CI/CD pipeline is triggered, and it provisions my infrastructure. It sets up my CloudFormation stack, and inside that stack I have my resources, which include EC2 instance, my security groups for the EC2 instance, IAM roles, and when all of these resources are created, it deploys my Node.js application inside a Dockerized container. So how it accesses the EC2 instance is GitHub Actions uses SSM agent to access my EC2 instance and then deploy my Node.js application inside a container in the EC2 instance. So when a user visits the public IP address of my EC2 instance, he is able to see my Node.js application live. So now I will go on and explain my code. So this is my GitHub repository, code repo, and in this, first of all, I have my GitHub Actions file. So what this file does is, first of all, it makes a Docker image builds a Docker image of my Node.js application, and then it uploads that image to the ECR, Elastic Container Repository. It is a repository to store images which can later be retrieved by the EC2 instances. So after doing this, it sets up the infrastructure using this template file, and when the infrastructure is set up, EC2 instance is ready. It uh, accesses that EC2 instance, and then it fetches the stored image from the ECR, and then deploys that image inside a Dockerized container, and then that Node.js application is live on the public IP of the EC2 instance. So this was my GitHub Actions file, which is responsible for the whole CI/CD process, and now I have my AWS CloudFormation template, which is where I have defined all of my infrastructure. And after this file, I have my index.js file. It's just a sample Node.js application. And then I have my Docker file, which makes an image of my executable image of my Node.js application, so that it can be run inside a Dockerized container. So now I will show you my CI/CD pipeline in action. For now, as you can see, when I visit my public IP address of my EC2 instance, it shows this message: hello from John James presentation for CA1. So what I'm gonna do is I will change this name to my name. I will go here in the index.js file. So currently it's John James. I'll just change it to be Sohaib Sajjad presentation for CA1. Okay, so now I will save these changes and push these to GitHub. I will say trigger pipeline 2. I'll make a commit, give a commit message, make a commit, and commit these changes, and then I will push these changes. Yeah. Now after these changes have been pushed, now these changes, I should be able to see my GitHub pipeline in action here. Yeah, so now as you can see, I have triggered this pipeline has started, GitHub Actions has started its work. Now this was my commit message. This was my code push. Now here you can see I've tested it a lot of times. It has also failed. It has failed a lot of times. It has paused. There was here. There are more than three pages here. And then when I was trying to fix, there were a lot of errors in this pipeline. Sometimes I had errors in the GitHub Actions file. Sometimes I had errors in the template file. So there were a lot of errors. So now I'll go inside it. Here you can see the whole CI/CD process is divided into three parts or three steps. First of all, it builds and push. The second, deployed infrastructure, the deploy container. In the first step, as I've already told you, it builds the Docker image and pushes that Docker image onto the ECR. In the second step, it deploys the infrastructure using that template file, AWS template file. And then in the third step, it deploys the Node.js application in the container. So now all of these steps are complete. Now we should be able to see those changes here. Now it is John James. When I reload this page, this message should change. I'll go and reload this page. Okay, yeah. So now as you can see that this message has changed. Hello from Sohaib Sajjad presentation. Okay. So I will just show you my GitHub my repository on GitHub. So I've made this repository public. I've included the link to this repository in my file, in my report as well, and this is the README file. The technologies used: I've used AWS CloudFormation for infrastructure. I've used Docker for containerization, GitHub Actions for CI/CD, and Node.js Express for a simple backend application. So the files in my repository, as I've already shown you those files, and here is the link to my live application. Click on this link, and it takes you to the public IP address of my EC2 instance. And here, okay, yeah, here is my stack that is created with that GitHub Actions, GitHub CI/CD using that template file. It creates this stack. Inside this stack, as I was telling you, I have these resources: EC2 instance. I have instance profile, instance IAM role, security group for that instance. Okay, when I go to that EC2 instance, and I have this. It's taking some time to load. Okay. Okay, yeah. You can see this is my EC2 instance. It is in running state. If I click on it, yeah, in the details, I can see the public DNS of my EC2 instance. If I copy this public DNS and paste it here, yeah, this is my Node.js application live on my EC2 instance. So what that GitHub Actions does is that it creates this stack with the AWS CloudFormation template. It creates this stack, and inside this stack I have my resources, my EC2 instance and all. So okay guys, that was all. Hope you understood. Okay, bye.